Okay, let's continue our exploration of where things are that we've been conducting in this opening section to this course on Sony's Vegas Pro 12. I thought what I'd do during this tutorial is look at two things, namely the ruler and the marker bar. You'll remember no doubt that in the last few tutorials, and in particular during the last tutorial, that we've glanced at the ruler running along here on our timeline. Now presently it's set to display time in hours, minutes, seconds and milliseconds, but if that's not suitable to you in your project, then there are a wealth of options available to us in terms of ruler display. If we choose to change our ruler readout to a different display, and by the way, there are 2 or 3 different methods of changing the ruler display, of which we'll look at during this tutorial. Well, if we do decide to change our ruler readout to a different display, then one method of doing this is to just right-click on the ruler, run down to Time Format, and then you'll see all these options made available to you that you can choose from amongst all these different options. Now, as you can see at the moment, our time format is set to display a SMPTE drop 29.97 frames per second video, and that relates to our display here, just above our track list. Okay, now I'll just click away. Right, that's one method of altering our time format display on the ruler. Another method is to come up to Options up here and then drop down to where it says Ruler Format and then just fly out to the right. Incidentally, this is exactly the same as we've just seen. And once you are here, as you can see, the ruler is again set to SMPTE, as we saw and I mentioned a few moments ago. But imagine I want to change this, so let's do that. Let's choose time and frames, because I want to work not just with hours, minutes and seconds and indeed milliseconds. With this option, time and frames, then I can work in hours, minutes, seconds and frames, of course. And the amount of frames that you will be able to manipulate this by will be dependent on the type of project that you have got set up. For example, here in the UK, I use the PAL video system, which has 25 frames per second. In America, as you know, a different format prevails, NTSC, that runs at just under 30 frames per second at 29.97. Now, you might be asking, what is the purpose of changing the ruler format to different displays? Well, yes, of course you can continue working on a project without regard to what the ruler format is set to, but sometimes it makes working on certain types of project that much more fluid. For example, perhaps you change the ruler dependent on the type of project that you are working on. With a day out on the beach film project, for example, you'd probably set it to display time and frames with its hours, minutes and seconds and frames display. But if you are working on a music video, as we are going to do for the majority of this VTC course that relies on bars and beats, then you might want to change the ruler to display measures and beats. So let's do that. Just right-click on the ruler again and change it to measures and beats. And with this measures and beats format, you will get a readout of measures, beats and ticks, with ticks being separated into 64 ticks per beat. Okay, so that's how easy it is to adjust the ruler format to adapt to particular projects being worked upon. Okay, now related to the ruler bar is the marker bar, and it's the marker bar, found here, where you place markers and regions. There'll be more on the use of the marker bar as we progress through the course, but for now, let me explain we can place markers and regions here on the timeline. A marker, for example, allows you to create an informational indicator or tag that indicates where something of relevance is on our timeline. You might have a clip of a deserted beach, for example, that lasts 20 seconds in length. And during this clip's duration, you want to create a visual cue on the timeline by means of a marker that shows you at a glance where a particularly spectacular wave, for example, crashed down against some rocks. Well, a marker positionally placed allows you to then cue up some music with ease where this occurred. Now, there will be more on markers later as we progress, but to just add one quickly, right-click on the marker bar and drop down to where it says Markers/Regions. Fly out to the right and there you can see the option to insert marker with the shortcut M on our keyboard. And now that I've done that, you can see that I've got a marker referenced as number 1 at the start of our timeline. Right, let's do it again. I'll just move over a little bit to the right there so that we move over in time a little bit, maybe to about here. and then I'll insert a marker again using the same method. Okay, and now that it's done, you can see that my marker number 2 is positioned here. Okay, so that's a quick run through of the ruler and the marker bar.